This is James Garner, one of the most loved and respected actors in Hollywood, admired not only for his acting ability, but also for his personal life. He was born James Scott Bumgardner on April 7, 1928, in Norman, Oklahoma. He had two older brothers, Jack and Charles. A photo taken in 1931 shows James, his mother Mildred, and his two brothers standing in front of the gas pumps at his father's grocery and hardware store. His dad, Weldon, called Bill Bumgardner, ran the store in the Denver community just outside Norman. That location is now gone, buried underwater beneath Lake Thunderbird. The Garner family had deep roots in the founding of Oklahoma. James's mother, Mildred, was half Cherokee. Years later, Garner would name his movie production company Cherokee Productions in honor of her heritage. Just a few days after James's 5th birthday, his mother suddenly died of heart disease on April 17, 1933. It was a tremendous shock. Mildred Scott Bumgardner is buried at Fairview Cemetery in Shawnee, Oklahoma. She was only 26 years old. After his mother's death, the three boys were separated and lived with relatives until the next year, 1934, when their father married Wilma Ranger, whose nickname was Red. According to the boys, the next 9 years were spent suffering under their stepmother's harsh hand, which included severe beatings and verbal abuse. They said she was especially mean to young James. In 1943, when James was 14, he had a heated argument with Wilma. She left and never returned. After she left, their dad moved to Los Angeles, and the boys stayed in Norman with family. James went to work doing odd jobs, trying to make it on his own with help from his relatives. When Garner was 16, he joined the Merchant Marines. It was 1944, toward the end of World War II. He was discharged after just a few months due to severe chronic seasickness. After leaving the Merchant Marines, Garner went to California, where his dad was. He entered Hollywood High School, and while attending, one of his teachers suggested he try modeling. He did, but it didn't last long. He said he hated it, so he quit school soon after and returned to Oklahoma. He attended Norman High School, where he played sports and was popular, though not the best student. Jim once told a story about standing in front of a Woolworth's in Norman with some friends. He bragged that he could just walk off with a peanut machine. They dared him, so he picked it up and walked down Main Street. He said he didn't know what to do with it, so he took it back. After that, everyone started calling him Slick. In the 12th grade, Jim quit school and joined the Oklahoma National Guard. He was quickly sent to Korea. Over the next 14 months, James Garner saw real action. His unit was on the front lines when the Chinese came across the 38th parallel. His unit suffered 60% casualties. Jim was wounded twice and received 2 Purple Hearts, one with an oak leaf cluster. There's a photo of James Garner with a Korean orphan named Juko, whom Garner took it upon himself to care for while in Korea. In 1952, he was discharged from the military. He eventually returned to Los Angeles and went to work with his dad, laying carpet. The work was hard on his knees and painful because of his war wounds. It would affect him for the rest of his life, and he eventually had to have both knees replaced. Garner once said that for pain he smoked marijuana and thought it should be legalized and that alcohol should be illegal. As luck would have it, while on his way to an interview for another job, trying to get away from carpet laying, he spotted a sign advertising Paul Gregory's talent agency. He wondered if it could be the same Paul Gregory he had been friends with when he attended Hollywood High. It was. Garner said he would never have stopped except that a woman pulled out of a parking spot right in front of the agency. He also said that if it hadn't been for that woman pulling out, he wouldn't have become an actor. Gregory told Garner he could get him a spot in a play called The Caine Mutiny Court-Martial, starring Lloyd Nolan. For Garner, just standing there, not saying anything, was better than laying carpet. He said he had no desire to be a movie star, he just wanted a way to make a living. But Caine Mutiny led to a $150 a week contract with Warner Brothers. That led in 1955 to his first on-camera appearance on Warner Brothers' weekly TV show Cheyenne, which starred Clint Walker. Then, in August 1956, James Garner met Lois Clark, an aspiring TV actress. Lois said Jim always claimed they met at an Adlai Stevenson presidential rally, but that wasn't true. They actually met at a Sunday afternoon barbecue at a mutual friend's home in Studio City. After meeting, they went to dinner every night for 2 weeks straight and then married at the Beverly Hills courthouse. They honeymooned for 2 days at the El Cortez Hotel in San Diego. Garner said he had $77, and it took every bit of it. It was a true Hollywood romance that lasted nearly 58 years until his death. It was James Garner's only marriage. Lois had a 7-year-old daughter named Kimberly from a previous marriage. Lois said she was a total wreck when she met Jim. Her daughter, Kimberly, was in the hospital with polio at the time. Within a year, Jim adopted Kimberly. 2 things happened to James Garner the next year, 1957. First, he was assigned to star with Marlon Brando in the movie Sayonara. While that was being filmed, he learned that Warner Brothers had picked him to star in a new TV Western called Maverick on September 22, 1957. Maverick made its debut. Jim said Maverick made him a star, but not rich. Although the show was a major success, its star was only making $500 a week. While playing Brett Maverick, James and Lois had a baby girl, Greta Scott Garner, whom they called Gigi. That same year, he also played his first starring role in a movie, Darby's Rangers. James Garner was one of the few actors who could successfully move between television and movies. In 1960, after 3 seasons on Maverick, Garner asked for a raise. He thought they'd give him one, given how much money the show was making. He said he thought surely they couldn't be so crazy as to turn him down. But they were. The studio began shifting the cast and brought in a co-star, Jack Kelly. When a writer's strike hit Hollywood, they laid Garner off without pay, claiming there were no scripts. Garner sued and won. He showed that Warner Brothers had 15 writers working under the table. In court, the studio admitted Garner was right. The court also released him from his contract. From 1961 through 1970, he starred in about 20 movies, including the one he liked best, The Americanization of Emily with Julie Andrews. Then came Support Your Local Sheriff with Jack Elam. In 1963, he co-starred in The Great Escape with his friend Steve McQueen. Garner said the role he played, a scrounger, came easily because that's what he had been in Korea. Also in 1963, he starred with Doris Day in Move Over, Darling. In 1974, Garner returned to television with the Rockford Files. While the show was a success, Garner developed health problems. He did his own stunts, and in the process broke bones, strained muscles, and had 5 knee operations, once on both knees at the same time. He suffered depression because of the pain and said he was sick and tired of it all. Ironically, he won an Emmy for Rockford in 1977. In 1979, he separated from his wife Lois for 18 months before they reconciled in 1981. When asked about it years later, Jim said the separation was 99% pressure from Rockford. He said it wasn't them, it was him needing to get away and get his head together. In 1980, the Rockford files stopped. Jim's doctors ordered rest for his bleeding ulcers. Although Garner owned 37.5% of the Rockford files, he suspected the studio was cheating him out of profits from syndication and foreign sales. Jim believed that right was right, and he always stood up for the cast or anyone being bullied, whether it was Universal Studios or an abusive stepmother. He said he never decked anyone who didn't deserve it. He filed suit against Universal, and it took until 1989 to reach a settlement. He said he wasn't allowed to reveal the amount they paid him, but that his wife Lois had to remind him to wipe the smile off his face. After Rockford, in 1981, he starred in a series of Polaroid commercials with actress Mariette Hartley. In 1984, Jim's brother Charles died. The next year, 1985, James starred with Sally Field in Murphy's Romance. For this role, he was nominated for an Oscar. After Garner's death in 2014, Sally Field said, "My heart is broken. There are few people on this planet that I've adored as much as I've adored James Garner." A year after Murphy's Romance, Jim's father, Bill Bumgardner, died in March 1986. He was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills. He was 85 years old. In 1988, James Garner was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Hospital with chest pains and underwent quintuple bypass heart surgery. 2 years after that, he had replacement knee surgery. In 1994, he starred with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster in Maverick. In 2004, at age 76, Garner gave one of his best performances in The Notebook with Gena Rowlands. When asked about his own long love affair with his wife Lois, one of the longest marriages in Hollywood, he said, "When there's trouble and you're young, love will overcome. When you're older, mature attitudes prevail. I just let her get away with murder." When asked about the women he'd worked with, he said, "I've worked with a lot of great-looking actresses, and I made it my business not to dislike any of them. I also made it my business not to fall in love with any of them either." In May 2008, when Jim was 80 years old, he suffered a severe stroke. He was cared for at home by his family. On September 13th, 2011, Jim's brother Jack Garner, also an actor, died at age 84. 2 years later, on July 19th, 2014, around 8 p.m., medics were called to 33 Oakmont Drive in Brentwood, the house where James and Lois Garner had lived for 58 years. He was pronounced dead of a massive heart attack. At his request, there was no memorial service, and his body was cremated. James Garner's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is located at 6927 Hollywood Boulevard. There is a 10-foot statue of him in Norman, Oklahoma, dedicated to a true Oklahoman who often returned to his hometown, where many of his relatives still live. After James Garner's death, his daughter Gigi said, "My father was the only man that actually lived his life by the golden rule. He spent his life discreetly doing random acts of kindness. My dad went through his entire Hollywood career without a single scandal or blemish." James Garner was 86 years old.